Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to Tony the Technician channel. And today we're going to be going back into the 3rd gen Camaro, and as you guys saw in the thumbnail, we're going to be replacing the valve cover gaskets. I'm also going to be replacing the valve cover bolts with valve cover studs, and I'll go over why and everything. But the parts that I'll be using is the Felpro 1628, which I basically ordered a year ago. When I was building this thing, I bought a bunch of spare parts, spare belts, hoses, sensors, plugs, wires, all that good stuff. And small block Chevys are notorious for, valve cover leaks. So I figured I have a rubber set in here that has a torque limiting washer on it, or in it basically, but I don't think they're steel core. I think it's just a rubber with the torque limiting washers in there. But obviously I have a leak on the driver's side in the back. And then I'm switching to studs, which ARP actually makes a really good set, but they're only 1.5 inches, and a lot of people that run either a thicker valve cover gasket or like these aluminum valve covers, the base plate is 1/4 inch thick, the gasket is 1/4 inch thick, and then after you thread it in the head, a lot of people were stating in their reviews that they would have been great had they been long enough, but it's basically meant for thinner gaskets or the stamped valve covers. When it gets into the thicker stuff, then you don't have enough thread left over to actually, tighten everything down. So I had to find another set that was a little bit longer, which ARP doesn't make, but I did find one from Jegs that's made in the USA, and it ranges from $12 to $14, just depending. I got mine on sale for $12.66. I'll have the part number up in here for you guys if you guys are looking to switch to studs and you're running a similar setup with a little bit thicker gasket and stuff. And then I also have a spark plug wire organizer that bolts to the bottom 2 locations, so it's even thicker right there. So the ones from Jegs are 1.75 inches, so it should give me just enough to get this all put together. And the Felpro I ordered because it's supposed to be the best available for small block Chevys. It's a rubberized gasket with a steel core and the torque limiting little washers inside of it, and it's basically a ribbed design, so it really helps prevent oil from escaping. So we're going to get those installed along with the studs, and then while I have it off, I've had the car running for a couple weeks now. I've probably drove it 10 times, majority of the time just around the neighborhood, and then a couple times to go get the car registered and stuff. And after 3 days of sitting, I noticed a little wet spot underneath the car and traced it up the bell house, or the dust cover up the bell housing, up the back of the block. And basically these aluminum valve covers, they sit over top of the heads, and there's kind of like overhang. Well, on the overhang on the bottom side, I saw a big old droplet. Wiped it off, cleaned it all, torqued the valve covers back down a little bit more. It didn't seem to help. I haven't even ran the car and it still manages to leak. So I'll show you guys the parts that I have that I'll be installing, and I'll show you what we're working with. Let's go ahead and get right into this. Hopefully I've posted the part numbers if you guys are interested. So I got both of mine from, well, I think the gaskets came from Summit a year ago, and they ranged anywhere from like $40 to $65, just depending on where you buy it. So here are the studs, 1.75 inches long, 1.75 inches long. It comes with a washer, locking nut, and it does have a hex there for an Allen key. It uses an 1/8 inch Allen key, so you get 8 of everything there. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of blue Loctite on there just to make sure the height is all right and everything. And here are the Felpro 1628s, I believe. I think that's what I said earlier. But here you can kind of see the ribs in it that go all the way around, and then this that states push rod side up, so they are directional. It doesn't matter what side they go on though. And then here you can see that torque limiting spacer in there, and it is a steel core. I believe the ones that I have in here are not a steel core like I stated, but my leak is right back here. So it's it's common for small block Chevys to have oil leaks, valve covers, rear main seal, things like that. But I mean, I've barely driven this car, and for one, I'd like no leaks, but if there is a leak, I definitely don't want it to be as excessive as it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff unbolted, And I'll show you guys the gaskets that I have in there. I can't remember the brand that I had went with at the time, but I'm glad I purchased these as backups, and I might as well just tighten down all my rockers and everything while I have it all disassembled. But here you guys can actually see the spark plug wire organizer that I have. It bolts to the bottom part, and it's just kind of a pain to put the gasket on, put the valve cover on, put these on, and line the bolts up all together. With the studs, it's going to make it extremely easy. You put the studs in and you basically drop everything onto it and it holds everything in place. So I'm looking forward to that, just in case I ever need to get back in and make adjustments or anything like that. Plus these gaskets are reusable, so we're gonna get it all disassembled and clean everything up, and then we'll get the new stuff installed. Alright, now we've got it off. You can see the gasket that I have in here. So it does have a steel core, and it does have torque limiting washers inside of it. You can't really see it in this design. I don't even know what brand this is. I can't remember. So I've already went through and just dry wiped the surrounding area on the head. If you have painted heads or anything like that, if you use brake clean or whatever cleaner you do use, make sure that you use a small amount if it is able to remove paint. So like my heads are painted, I don't want to remove any of that paint, so I'm going to use a very small amount and carefully go around the head itself and clean off the surface. Luckily with the rubberized gasket, the two that I had, they go on dry. They don't require any sealant or anything like that, so I'm not out here scraping away, cork or RTV or anything like that. So it's a pretty easy cleanup. You're going to do both the head and the valve cover and wipe them down thoroughly, making sure that there's no oil on either one of them when you go ahead and reinstall your new valve cover gasket. Just go through and make sure that the surface is dry. There's no, residual oil sitting on the mating surface. And I'm just going to kind of go through here and inspect everything. I will be checking all of my rockers. So basically what I've done here is I've just installed the valve cover studs, and I placed the valve cover gasket on, and then I went ahead, cleaned this off. I tell you what, those studs make it a lot easier to assemble this. So basically just checking the length on it. I think the 1.5 inch would have worked for me from ARP, but that's okay. You can see I have plenty of thread left. Keep in mind I still do have to put the spark plug wire organizer on there, so that'll take up a little bit more, but other than that, it's great fitment, super easy. These Felpros go on dry, so now I know that the valve cover studs, the length is fine. I'm going to take them back out. I'm going to put a little bit of blue Loctite on them, replace them, and they are bottomed out, so like that's as low as they'll go. And I'll take it all back off. I'll clean it all again just to make sure that everything's nice and dry, and then we'll reassemble it. But first I still have to go through and just adjust all of my rockers and make sure that's all set fine. These new gaskets, for one, they're quite a bit thicker, and it's hard to show you with one hand. The overall shape of the Felpros is just a lot better. They actually follow the shape of my head, which is nice, where these, if you can see the imprint that it made on the gasket, this one did not fit the head very well. It was very oddly shaped. The corners are almost too square and out too far. Felpro has more of a rounded corner, and it actually follows the shape of my head, so it just fits the head a lot better as far as shape. And the gasket's thicker. It's got the ribs to really stop the oil, so I think this gasket is going to work much better, and these valve cover studs are going to be a fantastic addition. This is something I should have done when I rebuilt it in the first place, but I'm just glad I'm getting it done now. So I know we're just doing the valve cover gaskets in this video, but like I said, I heard some slight ticking on the back side of the driver's side, and intake on 5 and intake on 7 are loose. Now keep in mind I still got to rotate the engine and check all the others. It's okay to have a little bit of side to side, but up and down you don't want to have. Number 7 is definitely the worst. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those taken care of, and then we'll move on with the video. I'm just putting the valve cover studs in. I have a slight drop of blue Loctite on there. Then I gave my valve covers a quick little polish. Not perfect, but better than before. And then we have our washer and our lock nut. Simply go on, and then I'm going to, the recommended torque is anywhere from like 3 to 6 foot-pounds. I'm going to do it in inch-pounds to get a little bit more accurate. I'm going to start off with about 40 inch-pounds, and I'd rather be a little loose than over tight, so I'll start at the low end, and if I have leaks I'll creep up by, like, you know, 6 to 10 inch-pounds until the leak is gone, if there is one. So. And then we're gonna do it in increments of 3, so I'll probably start out with like 20 inch-pounds, 30 inch-pounds, and then 40 inch-pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and get these all installed on there, and then we'll get them torqued down. 11 millimeter, and I'm just gonna go around and snug them all up, and then we'll go ahead and torque them 20 inch, 30 inch, and 40 inch. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and start it up and see. We'll take it for a little drive. I'll get you guys mounted up in the car. Hopefully the audio isn't bad. If it's too bad, I've tried it with this before. I've disconnected my shotgun mic, so hopefully it makes it a little bit better for the drive. We're just gonna go on a real short little drive. Come back, I'll let it cool down, and then we'll check for leaks and everything, but let's go ahead and fire it up. So took it on a test drive for about an hour and came back, let it cool off, and we have no leaks as of yet. I'll check it again here in a couple days. And tomorrow might be nice, so I may take it for another little test drive. But as of right now, everything's sealed up real nicely, working really well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I can clip it down because it's pretty long. I've got like a half an hour worth of video I'll try and trim down for you guys. So if you guys enjoyed, please make sure to hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and as always, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. See you guys next time.